Have you ever been told by your own family you shouldn't appear because you'll ruin everything? I heard that sentence, not directly, but through a very polite suggestion before my sister's wedding. They didn't kick me out. They just asked me to stay outside the frame, wear muted colors, handle the behind-the-scenes work, and disappear from the most important memories. My name is Katari. I'm 27 years old, a daughter, a sister, and someone who spent her entire life being the background so others could shine. Until the day I realized silence isn't noble, it's self-erasure. If you've ever been labeled not fitting in, if you've ever been asked to make yourself smaller so others could feel comfortable, listen to this story. And if you see yourself in it, leave a comment. You might be standing right at the moment where you need to choose yourself again. I still remember that afternoon clearly. The Louisville sky was overcast, as if it too knew something dirty was about to happen in my family. I was sitting at the dining table, my laptop open, quarterly reports from Velwyn Labs stretching on like an endless tunnel. My eyes burned. My head was crammed with numbers, testing schedules, meetings that had to be wrapped up before I stepped into 3 weeks of hell, known as Brianna's wedding, my sister's. I told myself, hang in there, Katari, just 3 weeks. Finish what they ask, go to the wedding, smile a little, then go back to your own life. But right as I was halfway through a sentence, the doorbell rang. I didn't need to look through the peephole to know who it was. Brianna always came to my place as if she owned it, as if I were just a storage room in her perfect life, opened when needed and shut when done. I opened the door. Brianna stood there, hair curled like a shampoo commercial, nails perfectly polished, eyeliner sharp and cold. She smiled. A smile so sweet that if you didn't know her, you'd think she was charming. I knew better. That smile meant an unreasonable request was about to be released. Katari, are you free? I need to talk for a bit. Her voice was honey soft, but her eyes wouldn't meet mine. That kind of avoidance always tightened something in my gut. It felt like when a doctor says, "We need to talk privately." I stepped aside to let her in. I'd learned that if I said no, the entire family would turn me into the villain. And I was tired. Too tired to prepare for another battle. Brianna walked into my living room, glancing around like she was evaluating a model apartment. She sat on the sofa, adjusted her designer dress, placed her handbag beside her like a crown. I didn't sit across from her right away. I leaned against the kitchen counter, arms crossed. "What is it?" I asked. Brianna took a long breath, as if she were about to say something very difficult but necessary. I almost laughed. In my life, my sister had never struggled to make me uncomfortable. So, Tyler and I talked with the photographer, and we want the wedding photos to have a very specific aesthetic. You know? Cohesive, elegant, refined. I looked at her, silent. In my head was a long list of all the things my family called refined to disguise favoritism. Refined when they placed me at the edge of family photos. Refined when they reminded me to dress simply. Refined when they praised Brianna as the light of this family. "And?" I asked, my voice strangely calm. Brianna smiled lightly. She thought I was cooperating. "I think, for everything to be truly perfect, it might be best if you, don't appear in the official wedding photos." The air in the room froze. I didn't react right away. It felt like someone had grabbed my brain by the collar and yanked it backward. I'd heard many things from my family, but this was different. This wasn't let your sister have her moment. This was disappear. I stared at Brianna for a long time, like I was looking at a stranger who had just said something filthy. "What did you say?" I asked slowly. "You want me at the wedding, but not in any photos?" Brianna waved her hands quickly, her voice rising. Rushing. The panic of someone afraid I might understand her correctly. No, not like that. You'll still be there. You'll still attend. You'll still be the bride's sister. It's just the formal photos. You know, Tyler's family is very particular, and we're paying a lot for the photographer. Everything has to be perfect. Perfect, meaning I'm not there, I repeated, placing each word on the table. Brianna looked down, twisting her sparkling engagement ring as if it were proof that she deserved priority. Don't think so negatively. I just want the photos to look uniform. Color palette, body types, presence. You understand? So that was it. I'd always wondered why I felt out of place in family photos. Now I had my answer. To them, I was something that didn't match the color scheme. I swallowed. My chest burned. My heart drummed fast, but my face stayed still. I was used to staying still. "So, where will I stand?" I asked. "While the photos are being taken?" Brianna sighed in relief, as if I were asking about logistics instead of being erased. "You can just stand outside the frame. You can help adjust the dress, hold the bouquet, hand things over. You know, you're really good behind the scenes." I heard that clearly. Good behind the scenes, which meant good at doing things no one sees, good at standing where no one remembers, good at turning myself into a shadow. Brianna stood up, her smile returning, bright as if she'd just wrapped up a minor task. "Oh, one more thing," she added casually. "Mom said to remind you, you still have to give a speech at the reception. You write beautifully. You make people cry. Like, heartfelt, meaningful, you know?" I stood there, unmoving, and suddenly the whole picture came into focus. They didn't need me in the photos, but they needed me to create emotion. They needed me to make Brianna's story more beautiful, shinier, more perfect. But when it came time to preserve the memory, they wanted me gone like a technical error. Brianna walked to the door. Before leaving, she turned back and smiled as if granting me a favor. "I knew you'd understand. You're always so mature." Mature. That was the word they used to turn my endurance into an obligation. The door closed. Brianna's car pulled out of the driveway. I stood in the living room, listening to the silence hum in my ears. I looked at my still open laptop, the numbers, the reports, the things I was good at, the things that gave me value in the outside world. And in this family, what was my value? A speechwriter, someone who sets up tents at 6 a.m., someone who holds flowers, holds dresses. A smiling shadow erased from the frame. I walked over to the sofa and sat where Brianna had been sitting. The cushion was still warm, and in my head, her words looped over and over. "It's best if you're not in the photos." I laughed, but it sounded like glass shattering. Then I reached for my phone, not to call my mother, not to argue, not to beg to be seen as a normal human being. I opened my banking app. The balance appeared. 3 years of savings, 3 years of frugality, 3 years of telling myself, one day I'll buy a house. I stared at the number for a long time, and for the first time in my life, I thought, if they want me to disappear from the photos, then I'll disappear from the wedding entirely. But that comes later, because in that exact moment, inside that silent room, I felt something frightening rise within me. Not tears, but a cold clarity, a brutal truth. I had always been the one expected to understand, and they had never once tried to understand me. After Brianna left, I didn't get up right away. I sat still on the sofa, staring into the empty space in front of me, as if someone had sucked all the air out of the room. My body was there, but my mind had drifted elsewhere. I was used to being overlooked, but what had just happened went beyond that. It was a deliberate decision. I was allowed to exist, as long as no one had to see me. Less than 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed. My mother, Linda. I looked at her name on the screen, let out a long breath, and only then answered. Katari. Her voice was sweet to the point of sounding fake. I heard from Brianna that you reacted very maturely. I gave a small laugh. Mature? That word again. I just wanted to say I'm really glad you understand, she continued. The wedding photos, they're just a formality. What matters is that you'll still be there on your sister's big day. There, but not seen. I was hoping you'd help the family this time, she went on. There are so many little things to take care of. Brianna's busy, and I can't handle everything myself. I stayed silent and let her keep going. You could help with decorations in the morning, double-check the guest list, and... Oh, the speech too. You speak beautifully. I want you to say something really touching, so everyone can see how close you and your sister are. I closed my eyes. A very clear image formed in my mind. Me standing on a stage, holding a microphone, talking about a childhood where I was never the priority. About a sister who was always the center. About a family that taught me how to stay quiet. What was I supposed to say? That I was grateful for being pushed to the edges for 27 years? Mom? I asked, my voice so calm it surprised even me. So, where will I be during the photos? There was silence on the other end. Just 1 second, but I heard it clearly. Well, you could stand in the back, or help hold things. You don't like being photographed anyway. No, I did like it. I just was never allowed to stand in a place where liking it was possible. You're okay with this, right? She asked, as if ticking off a formality. I didn't answer right away. I remembered my high school graduation. I remembered my mother constantly adjusting positions, pulling me back, pushing Brianna to the center of the frame. I remembered the familiar line. Stand a little to the side. Let your sister stand out more. Back then, I had obeyed. I always obeyed. I'm fine, I finally said. On the other end of the line, I heard my mother sigh in relief. I knew it. You're always the most understanding one in this family. Understanding. Meaning, knowing how to accept being the one who loses. From that day on, I became part of the wedding machine. Messages came constantly, regularly, without asking. Katari, can you come help Mom wrap the wedding favors? Katari, can you call the guest list and check who's vegetarian? Katari, can you stop by the florist to pick up the order? They're running late. I did everything. I said okay so many times the word started to lose its meaning. I dissolved into nameless tasks, invisible duties no one remembered once everything was done. Then another message came, this time from Brianna. Oh, by the way, Mom says you should wear something neutral, navy or gray. Don't wear anything too eye-catching, okay? That day is my day. I looked at my closet, at the few dresses I truly loved, the colors I had rarely allowed myself to buy. I remembered trying on a teal dress last Christmas and my mother saying, "That color suits your sister better." I replied with a single word, "Okay." A moment later, another message arrived. Tyler's mom asked if you could come early to help with setup. Around 6 a.m., you're not busy, right? Not busy. My life, my job, my sleep, all of it was considered empty compared to Brianna's wedding. That evening, I sat alone in my apartment, my phone face down on the table. I looked at myself in the mirror and tried to recognize the woman staring back. A woman with a stable career, financially independent, respected by her colleagues. And then there was me in my family's eyes, the one in the background, the filler, the one who shouldn't be seen. I thought about the speech they wanted me to write, a speech about sisterhood, about closeness, about family love. They wanted me to stand in front of hundreds of people and use my words to paint a beautiful story, while I myself was being erased from the frame of that very story. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because I was sad, but because something else was taking shape. It was no longer pain. It was clarity. I realized something with frightening precision. They didn't want my presence as a person. They wanted my existence as a function, to work, to serve, to create emotion. Then step aside. And the most frightening thing wasn't that they treated me this way. It was that for so many years, I had allowed them to. I lay staring at the ceiling until the sky began to lighten. And in that silence, a thought appeared. Slow, but firm. If they only need me when I'm not seen, then maybe I don't need to appear at all. I had hoped, naively, that this was just one of Brianna's shallow ideas. That if I talked to my mother, things would be corrected. That at the very least, my mother would say, "No, you're the bride's sister. You belong in the photos." But that hope died quickly. The next morning, while I was at the office, my phone buzzed. My mother's name appeared on the screen, followed by a heart emoji. She used it when she wanted to sound gentle, when she wanted me to soften. I answered. "Katari," she said, her voice light as cotton. "I just wanted to check if you're okay after talking to Brianna yesterday." The question sounded right, but I immediately noticed what was wrong. She wasn't asking because she was worried about me. She was asking to make sure I had agreed. "I'm fine," I said. "Good," she replied quickly, as if she'd been waiting for that exact answer. "I'm really glad you're being so mature and understanding." There it was again. Mature, understanding. Words used to neatly package my sacrifices, to make them easier to swallow. "Mom," I said, trying to keep my voice neutral, "I want to ask you something. Did you know that Brianna doesn't want me to appear in the wedding photos?" On the other end of the line, there was no surprise. No, what? Just a very brief pause. Then my mother exhaled. "Oh, that," she said. "Yes, I know." My heart dropped a beat. "You knew?" I asked, even though the answer was already clear. "Of course I knew," she said as if it were obvious. "Brianna told me when she spoke with the photographer. I think it makes sense." Makes sense. I leaned back in my chair, staring at my computer screen, the words on it blurring into nothing. Makes sense. How, Mom? I asked. She gave a small laugh, the kind people use when explaining something delicate. You know, every wedding has a certain style. Brianna wants the photos to look cohesive and elegant. Tyler's family pays close attention to these details. I don't want anything to look out of place. Out of place. I heard every word clearly. And I'm out of place? I asked, my voice lower now. That's not what I mean, she replied immediately, too quickly. It's just that you're not suitable for the formal wedding photos. Try to understand your sister. Understand. Again, it was me. I bit my lip, that familiar feeling rising. The realization that I wasn't just being excluded, but that my exclusion was being justified. Do you realize this hurts me? I asked. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I just asked. She sighed, her tone shifting to irritation. Katari, why are you so sensitive? It's just a few pictures. You don't even like having your photo taken. Don't make this a big deal. No, I did like it. I just was never allowed to. Do you remember my high school graduation? I said. You kept telling me to step back. You said you wanted Brianna in the center of the frame. That was different, she replied. Brianna looks better on camera. You have to understand. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because, finally, she had said the thing I'd heard my whole life, this time without hiding it. So, this isn't really about the wedding, I said. It's because I'm not pretty enough to be in family photos. You're twisting my words, she snapped. I never said that. But she had shown it. Again and again. I went quiet, and in that silence, she continued. Katari, I just want everything to go smoothly. Brianna is getting married. This is the most important day of her life. As the older sister, you should give way. You still have an important role. What role? I asked. You write the speech. You help organize things. You support from behind. Those are things you're very good at. I heard myself exhale. Slowly. Clearly. Mom, I said, I'm your daughter, not an event staff member. She fell silent. Then her voice turned cold. You're making a big deal out of nothing. If you keep being this stubborn, you'll ruin the family atmosphere. Ruin it. It was always me. I looked out the office window. People were walking outside, living their lives. No one was being asked to disappear so someone else could look better. So what if I say no? I asked. She answered without hesitation. Then I'll be very disappointed. And so will Brianna. You don't want to make your sister unhappy on her wedding day, do you? That was when I understood, not logically, but with a chill running down my spine. My mother didn't just know, she agreed. She supported it. And she expected me to keep doing what I had always done, stay quiet and accept it. The call ended with the familiar line. I knew you'd understand. I set the phone down. My hands weren't shaking, but something inside my chest had just broken. I didn't cry. I'd cried enough over things like this already. Instead, I opened my calendar again. I looked at Brianna's wedding date, 3 weeks away. And for the first time, I didn't think about what I would wear, where I would stand, or how I would write the speech. After the call with my mother, I couldn't focus on work anymore. The numbers, reports, emails, all of it drifted past my eyes like a layer of fog. I knew this feeling. It wasn't new. It was the sensation of an old memory being touched, then split open again, burning like a wound that had never truly healed. I had been pushed out of the frame my entire life, not metaphorically, literally. I remember the first time. I was 12 years old. It was Brianna's birthday. A big party in the backyard, colorful balloons everywhere. So many of her friends I couldn't remember all their names. Mom even hired someone dressed as a princess. I stood by the porch, holding the family's cheap camera, because you take decent photos. When it was time for the family picture, Mom called me over. I stepped forward, about to stand next to Brianna, when she gently placed a hand on my shoulder and nudged me to the side. Stand back a little, she said. You're covering your sister's dress. So I stepped back, then back again, until I was almost behind everyone. In that photo, only half my face appears, blurred, darker than the rest. But no one noticed. Brianna was glowing. Mom looked satisfied. That was enough. Another time was my high school graduation. I was valedictorian. I walked across the stage to thunderous applause. When it came time for photos afterward, my mother told me to remove some of my honor cords. "There's too much going on. It'll clutter the picture," she said. "Let Brianna stand out more." That day, no one posted photos of me receiving awards. Only a picture of Brianna standing in the center, her arm around my shoulder, captioned, "So proud of my two beautiful daughters." But I knew. In their eyes, only one of us was truly beautiful. In college, it didn't get better. In family photos sent to relatives during the holidays, I was always the one cropped at the edge. If cropping wasn't possible, I was blurred into the background. If I was still visible, the angle was changed. Once, my mother said to me very gently, "You're not photogenic. It's not your fault." But she never said, "You deserve to be there." I remember one Christmas when I wore a green dress, the rare time I felt beautiful. When I looked at the photos later, I couldn't find myself. "Did you edit the pictures?" I asked. My mother didn't look up from her phone. "I just cropped them to make them cleaner. Your dress was distracting." I laughed. I always laughed. I learned how very early on. Laughing so I wouldn't ask more questions. Laughing so I wouldn't hear the answers. And eventually, I learned how to disappear. Not because I wanted to, but because I was taught that my presence was a problem to be managed. Brianna was the opposite. Every lens found her. Every light revolved around her. She never had to ask to be seen. I, on the other hand, had to be arranged every time I appeared. So when Brianna said I would ruin the wedding photo aesthetic, part of me wasn't surprised. It hurt, yes, but it wasn't shocking. The real pain came when my mother stood on her side, when she called my exclusion reasonable, when she said I was the one who should stand behind. That night, I sat alone in my dark apartment and opened old photos on my phone. I zoomed in on each one. Somewhere I was always there, at the edge. Blurred, blocked, cropped out. I had existed my whole life as excess detail, and then a thought surfaced. Slow, but unmistakably clear. If they were already used to me disappearing from photos, then this time, I would disappear for real. Not to hurt them, but so I could stop hurting myself. If it were only about appearance, I might have learned to swallow it long ago. But it was never just about the photos. It was about how every effort I made was treated as a given, while everything Brianna did, no matter how small, became an event worthy of celebration. I grew up in a family where my achievements were like furniture. Always there, always useful, but never something worth admiring. When I got into college on a full scholarship, my mother only said, "Good. At least we won't have to worry about tuition." There was no party, no celebratory dinner, no proud announcements to relatives. 2 months later, Brianna got a part-time job with a local cosmetics brand, just handing out flyers at a shopping mall. My mother called the entire family. "She has a real talent for business," my mother said. "She has a future." I was sitting at the dining table, listening to my mother talk about my sister's future, while mine had already begun, unnoticed. When I graduated with honors in science and landed a job immediately at a pharmaceutical lab, my parents attended the ceremony, but they left early. "Brianna has a hair appointment," my mother said. "It can't be rescheduled." We would celebrate later, but later never came. 2 weeks after that, they threw a big party for Brianna because she'd been invited to appear in a local commercial that lasted 15 seconds. There was wine, flowers, photos all over Facebook. I was assigned to help prepare the food. When I got my first promotion, from research staff to coordinator, I called to share the news. My mother listened, stayed silent for a few seconds, then asked, "So, when are you getting a boyfriend?" The question was so familiar, it no longer hurt. It just felt empty. Brianna was different. Every time she changed her hairstyle, my mother took photos. Every time she posted a new picture, my mother shared it. Every time she talked about some vague idea, opening a shop, becoming an influencer, starting an online business, the whole family nodded as if listening to a prodigy. No one asked what she had actually accomplished. It was enough that she looked like she was doing something. I remember a family gathering once. An aunt asked what I'd been working on lately. I was just about to talk about a new research project when my mother cut in. "Katari is always busy with those dry lab things," she laughed. "But Brianna, she's building her personal brand. That's what it takes to succeed these days." I stayed quiet, not because I had nothing to say, but because I knew no one really wanted to hear it. My success had no color, no spotlight, no story worth boasting about. It was simply the result of working hard, consistently, without applause. Brianna, on the other hand, only had to exist. And then came the wedding. Everything I had lived through suddenly aligned into a straight line, clear in a way that was almost frightening. My exclusion from the wedding photos wasn't a sudden decision. It was the culmination of a long process in which I had always been cast in a supporting role. I was the reliable one, the mature one, the understanding one, the one who could be overlooked without causing trouble. When my mother said I should stand behind, when Brianna said I would ruin the aesthetic, they didn't think they were being cruel. To them, it was simply the natural order of things. That evening, I sat alone, looking at the certificates on the wall, the awards, the credentials, the things I once believed would prove my worth. And then I understood something painfully clear. I didn't lack value. I was just in the wrong place. In a family that only knew how to celebrate what sparkled, not what endured. In a system where I was always the backdrop for someone else to shine. And if I stayed, if I kept trying to be seen, I would keep disappearing. Not just from photos, but from my own life. For the first time, I didn't ask, was I not enough? I asked, why am I still here? I thought that after everything I had already heard, nothing could hurt me anymore. But I was wrong. Because sometimes, what kills you isn't a hard blow. It's the final, weightless pin, spoken gently, wrapped in concern, as if the speaker were doing it for your own good. The message arrived in the evening, just after I got home from work. I was standing in the kitchen, a glass of water still in my hand, when my phone vibrated. It was Brianna. "Oh, one more small thing. Mom and I were thinking, you should dress really simply that day. Neutral colors, beige, gray, or dark blue. Don't wear anything too eye-catching, so you don't draw attention." I read the message at least 3 times. Not because I didn't understand it, but because I couldn't believe they dared to say it, so casually. Don't draw attention, as if my very existence were already a threat. I replied calmly, "Draw attention? From whom?" Brianna answered almost immediately, "Oh my God, don't overthink it. It's a wedding. People should be looking at the bride. You understand, right? You're always so considerate. Considerate. That word again. The word that had followed me for 27 years like an invisible tightening loop. Every time I stayed silent, they called it maturity. Every time I gave way, they called it understanding. And every time I disappeared, they called it reasonable. I set my phone down on the table and stared into the empty space in front of me. Familiar images flickered through my mind. Me, standing off to the side in family photos. Me, wearing dark colors at Brianna's parties. Me, sitting in a corner, applauding other people's successes. And now, me being reminded not to dress nicely at my own sister's wedding. Not because I liked standing out, but because they were afraid I might. I let out a small laugh. Not loud, not amused. A dry, hollow smile. Because the bare truth had finally surfaced. They didn't just want me out of the photos. They wanted me erased from memory. I remembered what my mother had said earlier that day during her gentle reminder call. You don't need to try so hard. Just be there and support your sister. This wedding is Brianna's day. I had asked, very slowly, then when is my day, Mom? She was silent for a second. Then she said, don't say childish things like that. Childish. So wanting to be seen was childish. Not wanting to be erased was selfish. That night, I opened my closet. I looked at my dresses. The ones I bought with my own money. The ones that made me feel confident, grown, and myself. Then I imagined myself standing at that wedding, wearing something pale. Not allowed in photos, delivering a heartfelt speech, crying happy tears for my sister, and then disappearing. No one would remember what I wore. No one would remember where I stood. They would only remember that I had been so understanding. And for the first time in my life, that idea terrified me more than being disliked. Because being disliked at least proves that you exist. I closed the closet. There was no anger left in me, only a cold, lucid clarity taking shape. I understood something at last. They didn't need me there because I was a sister, a daughter, family. They needed me because I was convenient, because I didn't cause trouble, because I handled the work no one else wanted. And in that exact moment, a thought appeared, clear and quiet. If they didn't want my presence, then maybe I should disappear entirely. Not from the photos, not in the color of my dress, but from the wedding itself. I picked up my phone again. I didn't message Brianna. I didn't message my mother. I opened a browser, typed a single search term, luxury resort. And for the first time in my life, I didn't ask what they would think. I only asked myself, if I stop being the background for everyone else, where do I want to stand? The decision didn't arrive like a storm. It came quietly, like the moment you stop struggling after realizing just how exhausted you are. I sat in front of my laptop for a long time. No music, no TV, just the soft hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen and my own heartbeat. Steady, strangely calm. The resort's website glowed on the screen. Blue ocean, white balconies, golden sunlight pouring into perfectly framed images. Perfect. A word my family always used for Brianna, and never for me. I scrolled down to the dates. Brianna's wedding, Saturday, 3 weeks away. I chose that exact day. My finger hovered over the Book Now button. 1 second. 2. In my head, my mother's voice rang clearly. You're being selfish. You're ruining your sister's big day. What will people think? Then Brianna's voice, light with laughter. You're best suited for the background. And deeper still, a voice I knew too well. My own, for all these years. It's fine. It's not worth making a big deal. I can handle it. I closed my eyes. And for the first time, I answered that voice with a complete sentence. No, I can't handle it anymore. I clicked the button. The confirmation page appeared. The price was high enough that my old self would have panicked. But in that moment, I wasn't afraid. I felt light. As if something that had been pressing on my chest for years had finally been lifted. Then I did something that surprised even me. I opened my banking app, looked at the money I'd saved over 3 years. Money I once planned to use to buy a house, to settle down, to fit the image of a good daughter living up to expectations. I whispered, barely audible, "This money is mine." Not to prove anything, not to punish anyone, but to save myself. I upgraded the room, added a spa package, booked a private airport transfer. Each click stripped away another invisible thread binding me to obligation. When the final confirmation email arrived, I leaned back in my chair and exhaled. No tears, no shaking, just a very deep silence. I looked around my apartment, the place where I'd once waited for my phone to ring on my birthday, where I'd asked myself what I'd done wrong to never be chosen, and I understood something painful but clear. I wasn't disappearing from their family. I was simply stopping my attempts to squeeze into a place that had never been meant for me. My phone buzzed. A message from my mother. "Remember to come early that morning. Be there by 6 a.m. There's a lot to do." No asking if I was tired. No asking if I was okay. Just assigning tasks. I stared at the message for a long time, then typed back, "Yes, I know." 2 words, exactly like Katari from every other year. But this time, it was the last lie I would tell them. That night, I didn't go to sleep right away. I sat down to write. Not a journal, an email, a short email. Very short. I didn't send it immediately. I scheduled it to be delivered on the morning of the wedding, after my plane had taken off. I reread the email many times. No accusations, no explanations, no begging to be understood, just the truth. I won't be attending the wedding. I've chosen to be somewhere I don't have to be anyone's background. I wish you all perfectly beautiful photos. I didn't sign it as your daughter. Didn't sign it as your sister. Just Katari. The next morning, I woke up with a strange feeling. Not fear, not excitement, but calm. Like finally admitting you've been trapped in a windowless room for too long, and now you're stepping outside. I began preparing for the trip, buying dresses, not pale ones, not dresses that won't draw attention, dresses I'd always loved but never dared to wear in front of my family. Yellow, green, deep red. I looked at myself in the mirror and for the first time didn't ask, "Will this make someone uncomfortable?" I asked only, "Do I feel beautiful?" And the answer was, yes. 3 days before the wedding, Brianna messaged again. "Don't forget to prepare your speech. Mom said you can just say a few lines about how you've always admired me since we were kids." I didn't reply. Not because I was angry, but because there was nothing left to say. The decision had already been made. Quietly, without drama. But it was the bravest decision of my life. I would disappear from their wedding, so that for the first time, I could fully appear in my own life. If most of the decisions in my life were made out of abandonment, then this one was completed by the truth. A truth I never deserved to hear, but one I needed to hear, so I would never turn back again. 3 days before the wedding, I brought a box of wedding gifts my mother had asked me to drop off while you're nearby, to Brianna's apartment. I didn't announce myself. I followed habit, finished the task, then disappeared. The door wasn't locked. I stepped inside quietly. There was laughter in the apartment. Voices, Brianna's, my mother's, and a few other women's, probably the bridesmaids. I stopped, not out of curiosity, but because I heard my name. If she shows up in the frame, it'll ruin everything, Brianna said, laughing lightly as if discussing the weather. One of the bridesmaids replied, "Exactly. She just looks off. Totally wrong vibe." Then my mother's voice followed, clear, certain, without hesitation. "I've said it already. When she stands close, the lighting goes wrong immediately. Wedding photos start to feel heavy. Heavy." I froze behind the door. No one knew I was there. No one lowered their voice. No one felt the need to be careful. Brianna continued, a hint of satisfaction in her tone. I had to remind the photographer again and again. Keep her as far from the lens as possible. It's not that I hate her. It's just that she messes up the composition. Messes up the composition. My heart skipped a beat. One bridesmaid laughed out loud. True, some people just aren't meant to appear in classy photos. The whole room laughed. My mother didn't laugh. She nodded. That's right. I'm just worried she won't understand and will feel hurt. So I have to phrase it gently. Tell her to wear neutral colors, stand in the back, handle logistics. That's best. Logistics. Not daughter. Not sister. Not family. Logistics. I stood there gripping the edge of the gift box. I didn't cry. I didn't even shake. The feeling was like standing in front of the body of a relationship that had been dead for years, only now officially pronounced. Every doubt inside me. Am I too sensitive? Do they not mean it? Should I be more understanding? Collapsed in an instant. They weren't careless. They were deliberate. They didn't hurt me by accident. They had agreed, together, that my presence was a problem to be removed. And the most painful part wasn't that Brianna said it. It was that my mother agreed. No objection, no defense, no hesitation. I understood something brutally clear. In their eyes, I wasn't someone being treated unfairly. I was an obstruction, something that didn't fit the aesthetic, an element to be hidden so the picture could look perfect. I stepped backward, slowly, without making a sound. I placed the gift box outside the door. I didn't knock. I didn't leave a note. I left the way I'd lived in that family for years. Silent, unseen. Only when I entered the elevator did I realize how cold my hands were. I looked at my reflection in the stainless steel mirror. Distorted glass, harsh white light. My face was pale, but startlingly clear. And I said to myself, silently, that's enough. There was no reason left to stay. No questions left to answer. No hope left to nurture. They had spoken the truth when they thought I wasn't listening. And that truth set me free. That night, I went home and opened my laptop. I rechecked my flight, reconfirmed the scheduled email. I didn't edit a thing, didn't add, didn't remove. Because after that day, I no longer wanted to be understood. I only wanted to be free. If, in their eyes, I was something that ruined the lens, then I would step out of that frame forever and let them take their perfect photos in a scene missing the one thing they would never realize they had lost. A daughter who had spent her entire life trying to belong to that family. The scheduled letter. You want me to disappear? Then I'm gone. Katari's voice. That night, I didn't sleep. Not because I was in pain, but because for the first time, everything in my head was finally clear. No more familiar questions. Am I overreacting? Did I misunderstand? Should I endure it one more time? No. After hearing that truth, every possible detour inside me closed. There was only one road left. I opened my laptop. The blue light cut through the dark room, cold and sharp, just like my state of mind. No tears. No trembling hands. I was calm in a way that was almost frightening. I opened my inbox, created a new email. Recipients: Mom, Dad, Brianna. Just 3 names. 3 people who had decided, together, that I was something that ruined the lens. The cursor blinked in the subject line. I typed slowly, about the wedding. No drama, no emotion. I began to write. I will not be attending the wedding. I have heard enough to understand that my presence is not welcomed, only tolerated. You want me outside the frame, dressed in muted colors, unnoticed, erased from memory. So I will do exactly that. I paused, not to think, but to feel the relief spreading through my chest. Then I continued. I will not come. There will be no speech, no logistical support, no more understanding, as always. Not because I'm angry, but because I finally understand that I never had a place there. I didn't use the word family. I didn't use the word love. They had removed themselves from those meanings a long time ago. The final line, I typed it, then stared at it for a long time. You want me to disappear? I'm disappearing completely. Period. New line. Signed, Katari. Not your daughter, not your sister, just me. I didn't send it right away. I scheduled it. 9 a.m. on the wedding day. 1 hour after my plane takes off. Late enough that they can't pull me back. Early enough that they panic. I clicked schedule send. When the confirmation appeared, email scheduled successfully, I leaned back in my chair and exhaled deeply. No victory, no revenge, just an ending. My phone vibrated. A message from Brianna. Remember to come over early tomorrow. We need you to assemble the gift sets. I looked at the message, then locked the screen. No reply. For the first time in my life, I didn't respond immediately, and nothing terrible happened. The sky didn't fall. No one died. The world didn't end. There was only one Katari, slowly stepping out of the role she'd played her entire life. I stood up, pulled my suitcase into the middle of the room, opened my closet. I didn't take neutral colors. I didn't take safe clothes. I chose the dresses I'd bought and hidden away because they were not appropriate. The colors I'd been told were too much. The ones that made me look in the mirror and see a woman who truly existed. I packed them neatly into the suitcase. Each dress was a quiet declaration. I am no longer the background. I am no longer logistics. I am no longer the one standing at the edge of the frame. Before going to bed, I checked my phone one last time. 63 unread messages, missed calls from Mom. I didn't open them. I didn't need to. I set my alarm. 5 a.m. Then I lay down. For the first time in many years, I wasn't worried about disappointing anyone because the only person I had abandoned all those years was myself. Tomorrow morning, when that email is sent, when they read those cold final words, when they realize that understanding Katari is gone, I will be in the sky, out of reach, out of frame, out of every expectation they ever placed on me. And this time, I'm not disappearing to please them. I'm disappearing to save myself. That morning, I woke up at 5 a.m. No blaring alarm, no racing heart, No familiar weight of guilt. Just a strange stillness, as if my body already knew. Today, everything would be different. I pulled my suitcase out of the apartment while it was still dark. The city was asleep. No one knew it was my sister's wedding day. No one looked at me with expectation. No one needed me to be understanding. The car arrived on time. The driver asked, "Airport, ma'am?" I nodded. Just one word. But it was the farthest direction I had ever chosen. On the way to the airport, my phone vibrated non-stop. I didn't need to look to know who it was. Mom, Brianna, maybe Dad, maybe unfamiliar numbers, people being recruited to pull me back into my old role. I didn't open it. For the first time, I placed my phone face down on the car seat, as if it were just an object, no longer something that controlled my emotions. At the airport, everything was ordinary. People lining up, people dragging suitcases, people hugging goodbye. No one knew I had withdrawn from a wedding. No one knew I had withdrawn from a family. And that was what made me feel light. While waiting at the gate, I bought a hot cup of coffee. My hands weren't shaking. I took a sip and suddenly realized I was smiling. Not a polite smile, not a defensive one, but a small, real smile. At exactly 9 a.m., I knew the email had been sent. Somewhere, in a house filled with wedding flowers, someone was opening a phone. Somewhere there were shouts, my name being called, panic rising. I wasn't there to witness it. As the plane began to taxi, my phone vibrated again, constantly, urgently, like waves crashing against a locked door. I switched to airplane mode, and in that moment, their world lost me completely. As for me, I looked out the window. The runway stretched ahead. The sky opened. When the plane lifted off, my chest tightened slightly. Not from fear, but from a strange sensation. I was leaving an old version of myself down there. The version who apologized before speaking, who stepped aside after entering a room, who constantly asked, "Did I make anyone uncomfortable?" As the city shrank beneath the clouds, I whispered silently, "Goodbye." The flight was long, but I wasn't tired. I read a book I'd bought long ago but never had time for. I slept deeply. I didn't dream of my mother. I didn't dream of Brianna. Just a peaceful emptiness. When we landed, sunlight flooded the cabin. A different kind of light, warmer, wider, as if it didn't require me to shrink myself to fit. I stepped out of the airport, suitcase rolling behind me. No one called my name, no one demanded explanations, no one told me to go back. A stranger smiled and asked if I needed help. That was all. But in that moment, I realized this stranger treated me with more respect than my family had in 27 years. As the car drove along the coastal road, I turned my phone back on. Dozens of missed calls, messages, long and short, angry, panicked, accusatory. I didn't read them all. I only read the first message from my mother, sent at 9:07. "Where are you? Do you know what day it is?" I locked the screen. I did know, and precisely because I knew, I wasn't there. At the resort, I checked in. The receptionist said my name clearly, fully. "Welcome, Ms. Katari." No one reduced me to a supporting role. No one told me to step aside. My room opened before me. A balcony, blue sea, salty wind, sunlight everywhere. I stood there for a long time, doing nothing, just breathing. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was running away. I was coming back to my body, back to my emotions, back to a woman who no longer asks permission to exist. While they were panicking over losing the logistics person, the speechwriter, the one not allowed in the photos, I was coming alive again. No frame, no lens, no one's approval required. Just this. I was no longer disappearing from myself. I came back after a week, not as someone who had run away, but as someone who had gone far enough to no longer be afraid of returning. My apartment was the same. The plant in the corner needed watering. Flyers stuffed the mailbox. The world hadn't collapsed just because I missed a wedding. But my family had changed. I knew the moment I turned on my phone. Dozens of unread messages. No more panic, no more pleading. Only one thing remained: anger. My mother texted, "Come by when you're back. We need to talk." Not, "I miss you." Not, "Are you okay? We need to talk." I went that afternoon. No gift, no prepared apology. I wore a simple dress, not to please anyone, but because I liked it. My mother opened the door. She looked me up and down, her gaze cold and evaluative, like I was a disappointing report. My father sat in the living room, silent. Brianna wasn't there. "Sit," my mother said, controlled. "Let's be direct." I sat down, back straight, hands on my lap. I didn't fold in on myself like I used to. "Do you know what you've done?" my mother began. "You humiliated this family." I stayed silent. "Your sister's wedding," she continued. "The most important day of her life. You disappeared. No explanation, no responsibility. Do you know how people looked at us?" I met her gaze. "I know, and I also know how I was treated before that." She gave a small smile. Not warm, not angry. Thin. "Katari," she said, "you always make things more serious than they are. It was just some photos." I nodded. "Yes, and I was excluded from all of them." "Because you don't fit," she said immediately. No hesitation. The words dropped straight into the room. "You don't fit the family image," she went on, as if explaining the most obvious thing in the world. "You don't have the presence. You don't have softness. You're always heavy. Outsiders notice. It looks off." My heart thudded once, hard, but I didn't cry. I asked, my voice calm enough to surprise even me, "So I had to disappear?" She nodded. "Yes, at least during important occasions. You should have understood that a long time ago." I looked at her. For a long time. And then I understood. This wasn't said in anger. This was what she had believed for years. She just no longer felt the need to hide it. "You're not like Brianna," my mother continued. "She brings light. You don't. I'm not saying this to hurt you. I'm saying it so you know your place." Your place. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because something had just been confirmed with brutal clarity. All those years, I hadn't imagined it. I hadn't been too sensitive. I hadn't exaggerated. I had always been seen as something that needed to be placed correctly, at the edge. "So," I said, "when I left, were you angry because I wasn't there? Or because I didn't perform my role?" She paused for a second, then delivered the cruelest sentence of that day. "I was angry because you ruined the arrangement. Not because she missed me, not because she was hurt, but because I disrupted the order." I stood up. "Thank you," I said. She frowned. "For what?" "For finally telling the truth," I replied. "So I don't have to keep wondering what I did wrong." My father looked at me, speaking for the first time. "You should apologize to your sister." I turned to him. "No," I said. "I won't apologize for refusing to be erased." I walked toward the door. My mother stood abruptly. "If you walk out with that attitude, don't expect things to go back to how they were." I turned back, my hand on the doorknob. Back to being pushed aside. Treated like visual clutter? Asked to disappear when I don't fit? I asked. If that's how it was, then I'm not coming back. She looked at me. For the first time, she seemed uncertain, but it was too late. I opened the door. As I stepped outside, I didn't feel pain. I didn't feel empty. I felt a deep, unmistakable relief. Because the most cruel thing was no longer hidden in what hadn't been said. It had been said, clearly, decisively, and that truth was what finally allowed me to close the last door. After that day, I never went back to my parents' house, not out of hatred, not as punishment, but because I had heard enough truth to know there was no longer a place for me there, as a whole human being. I didn't block their numbers right away. I let things sit for a while, almost as if I were waiting to see if there was anything left that could still hurt me. There wasn't. Only scattered messages. My mother texted a few times in her familiar tone. You should think about this again. Family is still family. Don't be so stubborn. Not a single apology. Not a single admission. Brianna stayed silent for nearly 2 months. Then one night, she called. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. Her voice sounded tired, no longer proud. Can you come back? Things aren't as easy as I thought. I'm not used to not having you handle everything behind the scenes. I listened to the whole thing. Then I deleted it. Not out of anger, but because I was no longer the person who patched other people's lives together. My own life, meanwhile, began to change, quietly. Not a dramatic reinvention. No bold announcement posts. No revenge arc. Just, every day I felt a little lighter. I formed new habits, not apologizing when I wasn't wrong, not forcing a smile when I was disrespected, not shrinking myself to make others comfortable. I changed the way I dressed, not to stand out, but because I like seeing myself in the mirror and not seeing someone trying to disappear. I made friends who had never heard of Brianna, never knew about my perfect family. With them, I wasn't anyone's shadow, not someone's sister. I was just Katari, and that was enough. A year after that wedding, I heard that Brianna was separated, not from her, from a distant relative. Her husband said he couldn't stand how Brianna always needed someone else to be the background in order to feel bright. He couldn't stand the way she treated the one person who had always stood behind her, holding everything together, me. I wasn't happy. I wasn't sad. I just felt the old order collapsing exactly as it was meant to. My mother aged quickly, not from time, but from losing the person who had always quietly carried the weight. No more Katari to arrange things. No more Katari to give way. No more Katari to be understanding. All the conflicts in the family surfaced. There was no one left behind the scenes to keep the balance. And me? I got promoted, moved to a new project, started traveling more, not to escape, but to expand my life. I fell in love, for the first time, with someone I didn't have to explain myself to in order to deserve love. He looked at me and said, "Do you know you have your own light?" I cried. Not from sadness, but because, for the first time, someone saw me and didn't want me to step aside. Years later, I hung a photograph in my home. Not an old family photo, not someone else's wedding picture. It's a photo of me standing by the sea, wearing a bright dress, smiling freely. No one cropped me out of the frame. No one said I ruined the composition. I'm right in the center. Sometimes I think about my mother, about Brianna, about the house where I grew up but never truly belonged. I don't resent them anymore, because the price they paid wasn't caused by me. They lost the one person willing to turn herself into a background so others could shine. They lost the daughter who never demanded, only tried to exist. And me? I lost a family in name, but in return, I reclaimed myself. And that is the fairest ending life could have given me. If you've listened this far, chances are you've been asked, at least once in your life, to make yourself smaller so someone else could shine. I want to tell you something it took me nearly 30 years to understand. Family is not a place where you have to disappear in order to be accepted. Real love does not push anyone to the margins, does not cut anyone out of the frame, and certainly does not treat your existence as an aesthetic flaw. The day I walked away from that wedding, I didn't lose my family. I simply stopped sacrificing myself for people who had never valued me. And from that moment on, I began to truly live. If this story resonated with you, I invite you to leave a comment and share how it made you feel. And if you'd like to hear more stories about boundaries, self-worth, and the journey back to yourself, consider subscribing. Who knows? This might be the first step toward